showed the inside of a courtroom with George Coe as himself as judge sitting behind a bench, with Jan Hooks as prosecutor Alex Taskmaster, Phil Hartman as public defender Pete Dender, Philip Seymour Hoffman as defendant Joe King, Norm MacDonald as a bailiff, and 12 jury members. Coe bangs the gavel and says, "Come to order. We are here to commence trial in the matter of State versus King, 22 CF 666. State?" Hooks stands up and says, "May it please the court." Hooks walks towards the jury and says, "We are here today because the audio-only sketch comedy program, Saturday Night Live SNotL, along with its program within a program, Saturday Night Alive, has criminally infringed upon the legacy of the audio-visual sketch comedy show, Saturday Night Live." Hooks points to Hoffman and says, "The defendant, Joe King, has continuously and constantly ripped off Saturday Night Live and has attempted to ride its coattails in order to achieve pecuniary gain. The evidence will show that Joe King has had absolutely zero permission from Saturday Night Live to refer to it, allude to it, honor it, or lampoon it. Yet with impunity, Mr. King," Hoffman, "It's Juris Dr. King." Hooks, "With impunity, Mr. King has, by osmosis, denigrated SNL with his criminally childish and petulant audio-only sketch comedy show. The evidence will show that this has happened time and time again, and I'm confident, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that after you hear all..." Hartman, "Objection, Your Honor." Coe, "It's very unusual to object during an opening statement. What is it, counsel?" Hartman, "Taskmaster referred to the jury as ladies and gentlemen. That's not taking into account the members of the jury who are non-binary." Cuts to Chris Farley in the jury, who mouths to Hartman, "Thank you." Coe, "Sustained. Madam Prosecutor, please make reference to all members of the jury." Hooks, "Yes, of course. My apologies. Ladies and gentlemen and non-binaries of the jury, I'm confident that after you hear all of the evidence, that you'll find the defendant is guilty of criminal infringement upon Saturday Night Live. Thank you." Coe, "Defense." Hartman gets up and approaches the jury and says, "Everybody of the jury, my name is Pete Dender, counsel for Juris Dr. King. And before I speak, I wanted to especially thank each and every one of you for your sacrifice to be part of this jury." Hartman winks at Gilda Radner in the jury, who rolls her eyes and looks away. Hartman, "I am very confident that the evidence will not show that the show SNL has been infringed upon by my client in any way, shape, or form. For one thing, the prosecutor mentioned pecuniary gain. The evidence will show that Juris Dr. King hasn't made a dime off of his production, and in fact has lost money in opportunity costs. Further, the evidence will show that SNotL and its progeny, Saturday Night Alive, have not infringed upon SNL, but instead have paid it legal homage. So I'm confident that after you hear all the evidence, you'll find my client not guilty. Thank you." Coe, "State your first witness." Hooks, "Your Honor, the state calls Henry Silva to the stand." Shows Henry Silva as himself enter the courtroom and sit in the jury box. Shows Norm MacDonald as the bailiff, who holds a Bible out in front of Silva, who places his hand on it. MacDonald, "Do you swear, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God." Silva, "I do." Hooks, "Please state your name and spell your last name for the record." Silva, "Henry Silva, S-I-L-V-A. Hooks, "Thank you, Mr. Silva, and how are you so employed?" Silva, the last 6 days I've been employed by this state as a criminal investigator. Hooks. Okay, and what assignment were you given? Silva. To investigate whether Saturday Night Live SNotL has criminally infringed upon Saturday Night Live. Hooks. And what was your conclusion? Silva. My conclusion was that it had done so. Hooks. And how so? Silva. For one thing, the name contains Saturday. It's not released on Saturday, but any day of the week. Moreover, they have a cold open, followed by Don Pardo announcements, and then a host giving a monologue. Hooks. How else have they copied SNL? Silva. Well, they used the Swords S-Words Jeopardy gag. They had an episode titled Conehead Cokeheads. They've used the Blues Brothers twice. They refer to SNL with a death pool. They have a cheap knockoff of Weekend Update called Weekend Doug Update. They've had Robin Williams portray Lorne Michaels. They spoofed Church Lady with the character Lurch Chady. They spoofed the Wild and Crazy Guys with the Mild and Lazy Guys. Cuts to 5 minutes later. Silva. And finally, they spoofed the SNL's B's with some rather B-level material. Hooks. And what damage has this cost SNL? Silva. Since SNotL started, SNL has lost 8 cast members and a talent producer, all because of SNotL. Hooks. Thank you. Cross. Hartman. Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Mr. Pepe Silva. It's Henry Silva? Hartman. Right. So before you recently died, you were employed as an actor, correct? Silva. Correct. Hartman. And actors have to say things on a script that aren't always necessarily true, correct? Silva. Correct. Hartman. And you were in the movie Ocean's 11, correct? Silva. Correct. Hartman. And in that movie, you helped rob casinos, isn't that right? Silva. Well, yes, but Hartman. So isn't it true then that you're both a liar and a thief? Silva. Well, Hartman. Yes or no, Mr. Silva? Silva. No, I portrayed a thief. Hartman. So you're not a thief then? Silva. Correct. Hartman. So to all the millions of people who watched Ocean's 11, you lied to them by pretending to be a thief, correct? Silva. Well, Hooks. Objection, Your Honor. What's the objection? Hooks. Dead from the earth, we're not alive. It's Saturday Night Alive, starring John Belushi, Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, Jan Hooks, Norm MacDonald, Gilda Radner, Danitra Vance, and many other special deceased contributors. Musical guest, Joe C., and your host, Alex Trebek. Everybody, Alex Trebek. Applause, applause, applause. Trebek. Thank you, thank you. I'm Alex Trebek, and I'm happy to be here. I think. Anyway, I was born in Ontario, Canada, the son of George Edward Trebek, a chap who had immigrated from Ukraine as a child, and Lucille Marie Legasse, a Franco-Ontarian. Shows Chris Farley in the audience who raises his hand. Trebek. Yes, the man vehemently raising his hand in the audience. Farley. Can you just get to a Jeopardy bit? A curtain is drawn and shows Sean Connery, Burt Reynolds, and John Belushi as Jeopardy contestants. Trebek. Fine, here we go again, folks. I'm Alex Trebek, and instead of talking about my life, I'm being forced to once again host Jeopardy. Our contestants are Sean Connery, Burt Reynolds, and John Belushi. And the categories are Queens of the Stone Age, Homophobic Homophones, Bonds Across Ponds, Burt Reynolds Body Count, Animals, and finally, Houses. Mr. Connery, for no particular reason, you get to go first. Connery, Schwartz for 100, Alex. Trebek, that's not a category. Connery, that's not true. I saw Belushi with a katana earlier. Belushi holds up his katana. Trebek, Mr. Connery, please. Connery, I'll choose Bonds Across Ponds for 100, Alex. Trebek, this character has gained international acclaim as a British spy. Reynolds rings in. Trebek, Mr. Reynolds? Reynolds. Who is Barry Bonds? Trebek, no, that's an American baseball player. Belushi rings in. Trebek, yes, Mr. Belushi. Belushi, what is a fixed income investment that represents a loan made by an investor to a borrower? Trebek, no, that's just a definition of the word bond. Connery rings in. Trebek, Mr. Connery? Connery, what is a relationship between people or groups based on shared feelings, interests, or experiences? Trebek, no, that's the other definition for the word bond. Mr. Connery, I would have assumed you would have gotten this one correct. The answer is James Bond. Connery, Trebek, if you thought I was ever going to get a correct answer, you haven't been paying attention. Trebek, fair enough. To move the game along and let you each get some time in, Mr. Reynolds, why don't you choose the next category? Reynolds, okay, how about Burt Reynolds' body count for 100? Trebek, this Academy Award-winning actress was Burt Reynolds' partner from 1976 to 1980. He liked her. He really liked her. Belushi rings in. Trebek, Mr. Belushi? Belushi, who is Strawberry Fields? Trebek, no, that's a Beatles song. Connery rings in. Trebek, Mr. Connery? Connery, your mother, Alex. Trebek, my mother was not named Alex, and if you listen to the beginning of the monologue, it was Lucille. Plus, you didn't answer in the form of a question. Reynolds rings in. Trebek, thank you. Mr. Reynolds? Reynolds, who is your mother, Lucille? Trebek, no, Mr. Reynolds, you did not date my mother for 4 years. Reynolds, are you sure about that? Trebek, even if you did, she didn't win an Academy Award. The answer is, who is Sally Field? Reynolds, who is Sally Field? Trebek, that's correct. That was the answer. Reynolds, no, I'm asking, who the hell is Sally Field? Trebek, and so we can finally end this brutal torture I face whenever sketch comedy is involved with my program. Mr. Belushi, please pick the next category. Belushi, Animal House for 100. Trebek, no, Mr. Belushi, there are two different categories. One is animals, one is houses. You can only choose one. Belushi, I don't think you get it, Trebek. I was in the movie. Animal House? Trebek, since you said animal first, we're just going to go with animals for 100. The answer is the insect that was featured in a sketch in a hospital in the inaugural SNL episode. Connery rings in. Trebek, Mr. Connery? Connery, your mother was an animal, Alex. Trebek, while technically true, as all humans are animals, The answer is incorrect. Plus, you didn't answer in the form of a question. Reynolds rings in. Trebek. Yes, Mr. Reynolds. Reynolds. What is your mother was an animal, Alex? Trebek. No, Mr. Reynolds, my mother was not featured in a sketch in a hospital in the inaugural SNL episode. Belushi rings in. Trebek. Mr. Belushi? Belushi. Who is dead from the earth, we're not alive. Trebek. That is incorrect, as this is not the cold open, but instead the monologue. The answer is, who are bees? Belushi. I don't think so, Alex. I'm pretty sure it was sharks. Trebek. We'll have to check the tape on that one, Mr. Belushi. Anyway, folks, we have a great show tonight. Musician and Kid Rock hype man Joe C. is here. So, bear with me, folks. Ba with the ba, da bang, diggy, 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 said the boogie, said jump up the boogie. We'll be right back.